Good day, everybody. I am Abdi Lajavardi. I'm your host, and thank you and welcome to Education for a Better World. Today, I have a great guest, one of my dear friends and colleagues, Dr. Alaeddine Khalifa is our guest today, and he is a wonderful professional. We're going to learn quite a bit from him. So, welcome, Alaeddine. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Lajavardi. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Dr. Alaeddine, first, I would like to ask you to tell us about you. Where were you born and how did this journey get you to this point so our audience get better familiar with you?
Well, I was brought up in Tunisia. It's in North Africa. It's a nice country. It's good for summer holidays. And my parents didn't have enough always to get me to where I want, so I had to work hard by myself. And everything up to this point hasn't been fully my effort. I got help all the way, and I had mentors, and my entourage of people was very helpful, and I had a good influence on my life and my life goals. And it set me to the right path, and I steered away from all the bad habits, and I just focused all my 20s on education and experience, professional experiences. And this is where it got me. And 6 years now I've been studying in Hungary abroad. I had my academic training at the University of Pannonia. It's a nice village, and it's away from all the distractions that one student can get in life, and you just have to spend your days studying at the library and knowing what's best for you. And then you need to have some extracurricular activities along the way, some things that can improve your skills, develop your set of skills. And you also need to have a good influence in your life, and that's when you know what's really necessary and where to keep going. And after that, I was really lucky to, I was blessed, in fact, to know the right people to encourage me to pursue my PhD studies. Now I have it. Now I'm 30 years old and I'm multilingual. I speak 5 languages and everything is going fine for me. I think at this level in my life, my 30s is going to be fine because I know at the end of the day, I know what I need to do tomorrow, what I need to do every day.
Well, that is wonderful. Congratulations. And as I am sure our audience would benefit from learning those aspects of what you mentioned, the staying focused and positive, and then having all these different mentors that they made this difference in your life. And we have a number of people that are watching these programs that maybe currently are studying or thinking about their studies. Do you have any particular, guidance that can help them in being more successful? Because some of these accomplishment, it takes effort, and it's sometimes really difficult financially, time wise, and if you have families and things like that. Anything you can help with individuals that are in that particular situation.
I was in their situation actually. Long time ago, I had to set my life straight. I needed to know what I need to do at a certain point of time. I mean, if you set yourself an objective, you need to work for it. You need to put effort toward it. Your lifestyle, your life has to be around that objective. Everything you do in your day, every day, day to day, needs to be about that objective. It has to be your new lifestyle. So if you want to work toward it, sure, learn their set of skills. Don't distract yourself. Just keep yourself focused because most people would focus on the others, what they would tell them, the expectations, what they need to have to do. So they just need to listen to themselves. Just pull out and have some me time for themselves, and they need to think about what they really want in life because life is not going to give them what they don't choose. If you don't choose, life will choose for you. So you need to have your own choice, you need to work for it, you need to be determined, to be disciplined, and you need to be your own boss. You need to control your own life. You need to be really in control because if you let everyone else telling you what to do, you will never reach your goal, and that will slow you down. I mean, allowing distractions throughout the day, you will not have enough time to learn those set of skills. You will not have enough time to be at where you really should be. So my advice for them is just to focus on that work because there are, if you really want to study, financial situation is not really an obstacle. You can find any scholarship online. You can either study online, you can either try new experience and travel abroad, as I did. Sure, it's frightening at first, but you will learn a lot from it. You just have to allow yourself to expand because staying in the comfort zone will never let you move forward.
Very good advice. Very good advice. I know firsthand, as I've seen successful people like yourself, that sometimes stretching out of our comfort zone, and this is study abroad. It's not just important what country you go to. What's important is expanding your horizon beyond where you are and trying to learn and interact with other people. We will play a very important role in developing oneself. So, thank you for sharing that with our audience. Uh, One of the things I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned this, a couple of times about focus, and that is really something. I think it takes a lot of effort to have that focus, right? I mean, we have so much distraction that happens. So, what do you do in helping you to stay focused? If it's something you could share with our audience, that it could be helpful.
Let me start with a quote. We learn and perform impossible things because we're members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. If you're passionate about something, you really need to have it. You would set your focus toward it. That's what you need to do. You need to envision, you need to have a vision about that. You need to visualize yourself because you have to speak it into existence. It should be in your mind first. You should visualize it. And that's how you will work for it. It will find yourself to you.
Very well, very well. That's a very good advice. And actually, I think that's why many people meditate, no? Because that's really a good exercise. But what you're mentioning about visualizing what people can do, how they happy they can be, how successful they can be, it could be a good way to get our mind, focus on it and get rid of all these distractions that could happen on a daily basis. So thank you for sharing that. Now, you have had an experience with many professors, in different places, different settings, courses that you have taken. And I have no doubt that you have had a number of individuals that uh, played a very significant positive impact on your life. So, when you think about those individuals, are there some characteristics, certain elements that you have seen on those as like a common denominator that you can share with the group? There are some teachers and there are some educators that are watching this program, and you are a great educator. So, what is it that you think we should strive for in order to making the biggest impact on life of a student, or a student should be really benefiting from?
Well, I felt compelled to follow a couple of traits that I've seen along the way. One of my professors would tell me, if you cannot explain it to me in 2 words or 3 words, you cannot do it. Because you have to really know your idea, you have to own it, and then so you can explain it. If you can explain it, then you can do it yourself, and you can explain it to others. I learned that from him. If I can get the idea, the whole grasp of the idea on myself, I could really explain it and write a lot about it in my articles. And one of my other professors also really focused on every aspect of the research. So every time I brought up an instrument of research, he would ask me about every possible and certain variable in the data collection. So I had to really think beforehand and visualize the whole thing. So mind mapping helped me um, brainstorm. It helped me really understand what's in my thoughts. So all the traits I picked up along the way, just thinking beforehand, what are my next steps?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So let me ask you, if I may, about elements of mentorship. You talked about mentorship and having a mentor in your life, and then the value of what you can do with mentoring others. First talk to us about what you have experienced in your own life, and then what is your perspective for everybody else.
As we were talking before, that you need to have a certain set of skills, and you need to have expert in your life, a nice entourage that can teach you that. You need to encounter the right people that have the right skills that you need at that certain moment of time, because you cannot really develop from your zone of proximal development without having someone who really knows what he's doing. So you have to be influenced and you have to know um, the right people, because not everyone can be a mentor. It takes a certain someone to mentor you. It takes their charisma, their knowledge. You need to have a certain relation with them, and that's when they can give you all they know. And imagine having someone who has studied a certain field for 40 years, and then you have all the knowledge he's had for 40 years just in a month. And that's the value of mentorship.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what about you? Do you mentor other individual, other students, or other people that they come to you, and why do you do it? And how would you encourage other people, other professionals like yourself, to consider mentorship for other young individuals? I mean, somebody said we all were born on the shoulder of giants, and we need to do our share to make life easier for the next generation. So maybe if you don't mind, give us some perspective on that front.
Arriving here, I haven't had the right network of people. I didn't know anyone. And that's when I felt the need to really be the giant for someone else. And that's when I volunteered to be a mentor at the university. And from there, I allowed myself to be contacted by others. And the way I do it is that students would contact me on the first day, and I would show them around. I would tell them from experience where's the best place to go shopping, even groceries. And I would explain to them the platform that they can study on and how to study, because the system here of education is different from everywhere else in the world. So I had to be there for them every time they had a question, and also I would approach them if I felt they needed someone to give them little guidance. So the role of mentor here is not just standing and answering questions, it's really knowing what's happening and visualizing everyone and being in their shoes.
No, absolutely, and having that passion, I guess, for wanting to make a difference on other people's life, and like you said, it's interesting because when you look at somebody having gone through a life and gone through certain experiences and certain challenges throughout their life, throughout their career, education doesn't matter, but being able to share that with somebody that is at the beginning of that path, it can make a huge difference. I mean, we all have really gotten here because there have been people throughout our life that have been those kind of support for us that have made our life easier. you know and I really appreciate your feedback in that regard. Now, on that same light, when you think about individuals that go through the school and prepare themselves, and now they're ready to enter into the workforce, right? What are some of the things they should do? Because when you're in school, you're studying and doing all this academic work and ready for the actual real world that you're going to go back and help a given company or industry. What are some of the skills and perspective that can make people successful in obtaining the job and at the same time to excel in that job?
Well, school would never teach you anything else other than the subjects. They would give you the tools, it's up to you to know how to use them. For example, if you're willing to work in academia, you need to know what's really fit for an academic role. For example, publications, you have to reach a certain number of publications. You need to have a postdoc if you're willing to be an assistant professor. You need to know the requirements beforehand and work towards them. So it's just a tip for newbies to go online and find a job for themselves. Is just to go on LinkedIn, for example, and look up the jobs. Look up for the specifications and requirements that you need to have, and you start to work toward them. I mean, if you go in a bachelor's degree or a master's, you have 4 to 2 years to really work on your set of skills and your profile. So if you look at your um, resume after all, we're all judged based on our resume firsthand. So if you look at your resume, you need to know whether you have the requirements or not. So you need to really know how to use the tools that you learned from school. If you're really into professional work outside, you could start with internship. You could even volunteer and find a mentor and have them after all as a reference. So that's
Well,
how
thank
someone
you
can
for,
grow.
yeah, you mentioned internship. I think that that probably is a very good way to give people some experience and some perspective on what this career is going to look like. Um, Now, maybe what are some of the things people can do in order to find those internship that they're interested?
They can start with universities because most companies have corporations with different universities. They would require a certain number of students every year, and you could start with unpaid internship even
Yeah,
because you're learning more than it's valued worth more than money. It's information, it's network, it's skills. So I think that's one way to start through the university corporations. Or you can send your resume and a nice motivation letter explaining why you need to work there, why you need the job, and a certain set of skills that you need, and contact a mentor there. And that's how you have a successful internship over, say, 3 months, a month. It depends. And you will have the right skills for the labor market after all.
absolutely. Actually, I can tell you from based on my experience and what I have uh, known that many of the internship, you mentioned about unpaid internship, and many internship is really unpaid because the company is taking a risk on somebody that doesn't have the any experience, the quote unquote unknown commodity. But if you're able to get your foot in the door, and an internship is a way to do that, many times you will find those internship, they end up to be job opportunities that you get at the end of internship, or at the same time, even if the company doesn't have an opening, you're going to find somebody within the company that will help you, recommend you to other people in that industry, and you can find a job that you wouldn't have found on your own. So that's a great advice. Thank you for sharing that. Now, uh, let's talk about some of the challenges that you see and opportunities in today. As you know, there's so much changes that are taking place, both technology wise, all these new fields coming out, and individuals, really are preparing themselves that how can they maximize on these opportunities. And there, of course, with every opportunities comes challenges. Well, let's start with one side of the equation, and then we get to the other side.
Nowadays, you tend to see people who work everything else. I mean, as the French say, it passe partout, and you can see them sometimes working as a customer service agent. Other times, you can see them working other jobs relevant to their field of study, and it's different than what they have. But what you really need to look at is the variation of those skills, because at some point, some other people would have their skills and academic progress in synchronization, and they would only be focused on that narrow field, and they wouldn't be as successful as the others who are more polyvalent. So I think what you see here is that the challenges of being of marketing yourself, marketing your skills. If you're really only looking for something narrow, you would have more challenges than someone who's more polyvalent, passe-partout. So I think it's the to be open for possibilities, to really expand your set of skills. That's the key. That's the key to overcome the challenges. Because myself personally, when I first graduated from a master's of applied linguistics, it was very narrowly for me to choose what to work as. And then as I applied and pursued my PhD, and I expanded my set of skills, and I've had internships here and there, experiences, and now I can feel myself working anywhere else, whatever my skills can be used at.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this whole perspective or understanding that life is short and being happy is really important. And I think what you're sharing with individuals to be open to opportunities, it allows us, to find where our passion takes us. They are, when we narrow ourselves to only one set of perspective, life becomes harder in a sense. Somebody was mentioning, the other day that life doesn't happen to you; it happens for you. And and that's just the kind of perspective that you are offering, I think, because if you think life is happening to you, then you will be defensive about everything that is coming your way. If it is your expectation, then you're happy. If it's not, then you're going to be disappointed. But if you have this idea that your life is happening for you, then you will be curious about some of the things that are happening, even if it wasn't in your plan, because it has a way to make you a more rounded person and happier person in the future, preparing you for something that you don't even think about right now, right? And that's the beauty of life. I mean, if we knew everything about it, it wouldn't be as exciting.
If I may share, back in 2016, I've had my car accident and I lost my car, and thank God I haven't lost my life. And I think that gave me an opportunity uh, to see what's next, to accept adventure,
Absolutely.
to be open to possibilities. And from 2016 onward, I was accepted. I was nominated to study abroad, and many beautiful things happened. So I wouldn't stop at that bad incident, and I would just linger on it and let life happen to me because and stop blaming others. It's nobody's fault. It's not even life's fault. It's our decision, and it's wherever it takes us. So if you see yourself as a victim, if you see yourself as a victim of circumstances that are happening, a victim of other people around you, then you're not in control of your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, uh, how we perceive life, it can be sometimes influenced by a lot of things that happens around us. And these days, because of how media, takes us with all these horrible things that are happening, sometimes only thing that we see is bad things that are happening. And in reality, uh, there are a lot of wonderful things are going on at the same time. Actually, there's far more great things happening than the dark side or challenges that exist. But is where our mind goes. What you mentioned earlier on, where our focus is. Because if our focus goes into the horrible thing, and that's all we're going to see, and that's all we're going to experience, and I think it is important to kind of remind ourselves that life is mixture of both. And at any given time, you have a lot more exciting things are happening than the horrible thing. Of course, those are part of life as well. But if we keep our mind open to those opportunities, those great things that are happening, then we can seize those situation for ourselves and our family or people that we are associating with. So let me ask you, you have any? I'm really, really grateful to have you with us, Dr. Alaeddine. You have a wonderful perspective in life and great advice for people that are in different stage of their journey, their education. Um, any last word that you want to share with our audience? I would greatly appreciate. But more than anything else, I'm thankful for your presence on this podcast and look forward having you join us in a future segments as well.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Now, as a final words, I wanted to say to our audience, thank you for watching us today, and just keep going forward. Sometimes you feel like giving up. Sometimes you feel like life is against you, but it's not your other's influence. It's not life's influence. It's your own decision to keep going. That's how you get to the results. Because most people, when they don't see results in a month, in a couple of weeks, they would quit. Life is not meant to give you results instantly. The best results are best cooked slow on the long term. You need to really work for them hard for 10 years, and then you can see finally the fruits.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, thank you very much and wish everybody a great day. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.